Therapy Podcast with Doug and Rich. With Doug and Rich.
My name's Doug. I have two companies. One is a marketing agency called Kalium. We do about 25,000 monthly revenue. And another one is an outsourced talent provider helping companies find remote markets in South Africa. That one does about 80,000 a month. Richard, Mahara, which is...
We are a venture studio and innovative tech product builder. I like the way that you get to introduce...
finished.
No, I clearly didn't finish.
Slow.
I'd like to think we have a delay. We do about £300,000 a month. We have offices and companies in Thailand, South Africa, Mexico, UK, and the US.
We don't need that much detail. We just want what you do, your revenue. And why should anyone listen to this? You should listen to this because we are trying to grow world-class companies and you're going to join us live on the journey. This is not, we've done it and we're trying to remember what the happened. This is in the trenches, day to day, week to week, live shit that we're dealing with, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, and I think one thing we want to do, which I think, you find some podcasts that do it, is we want to be quite transparent with everything that we go through, from the, the emotional ups and downs, from the ideas that we have, the wins, the losses, and just be kind of a little bit warts and all, don't we, for what it's like to kind of grow a company. I mean, I've been doing it 14 years. You've been doing it. Cool. You've been in entrepreneurship almost as longer than me, I think, haven't you?
First
when
company,
did you start?
2007.
Yeah, you're before me. I was 11. Yeah. So pearls of wisdom, people. Hopefully pearls of wisdom. But hopefully you'll get to know Doug and I. Hopefully we're quite entertaining. We've been friends for a long time. We think the things that we talk about can be quite funny. You'll get to know about Sammy as well. We'll leave
the
Sammy
YouTube algorithm hates us with a passion because it's not specific enough. So we have gone podcast first. This is the first diary entry. ChatGPT told me podcast first. It also said that our insights are top 5%, but it did say that our structure was shit. So we
you
need
said
to work
shit,
on that.
yeah.
I
think you said utter shit. What do you mean you're not going to swear? Old swear jar over there.
So we need to get into it. That's what ChatGPT says. So we're going to start with, Rich, I want your week and I want 30 seconds. What have you been working on this week in your business?
My week has been a strategic and admin grind. So one side of it has been really forward thinking and I guess visionary around what we're going to be doing with our capital arm of Mahara. So strategies to raise that capital so we can invest it into the businesses we work with. And then the other side of it is, how do I prospect and speak to 250 CEOs in healthcare in Texas and Oregon? So One side, lovely, energetic. The other side, rip your soul out.
So tell me about capital raising thing, just like very quick, like what is that all about?
So we're wanting to raise a capital fund or vehicle to invest in the startups that we already work with. So we're looking at just south of 20 million raise for that fund to allow us to, like I say, invest in those businesses. Tickets from 50 to 150 to 750 into those startups once we've raised that capital. I think it'd be a game changer for Mahara. Really.
How long will that take?
Oh God!
Is it pie in the sky, or is it like this could happen?
No, it's not pie in the sky at all. I think we've got the background, we've got the track record, we've got the performance to be able to go and do it. Of course, the timing is super difficult because of just everything's unsettled, right? The tariffs and everything's getting everybody unsettled. The interest rates had everybody unsettled. COVID had everybody unsettled. It's just been unsettled for so long. But no, I don't think it's pie in the sky. It needs dedicated, focused time. And I've just got to really hammer it for 2-3 hours a day, 2 hours a day, just smack, consistency, and be really, really organized, because we've got a great business and I think the opportunity is terrific. The opportunity is to take on what accelerators do. Real exciting stuff.
My week has been a little bit similar to yours. I'm building a new sales motion on LinkedIn. With marketing pros, the problem that we have, it's actually quite easy to get leads, but it's actually quite hard to get companies that are a good fit for our talent. So it's just trying to And the reality is you don't know what those companies look like because they can look very, very different. So I'm just trying to work out, how do we find the right type of company to place our talent in? And
so when you say you can't find the right type of company, what tools are you using to surface those and then realizing that it's not a good fit? Or is it when you actually talk to them?
the factors that make a company a great company to work for tend to be fairly intangible, like, the founder's nice person, or the person they report to is a nice person. They've actually got a sensible, viable strategy.
Okay.
And
So it's more about how they function as a business rather than what they're trying to do in market. That doesn't matter so much. So they could work. You guys could plumb into thousands and thousands of companies. It's just getting that right cultural fit.
yeah, exactly. It is about the cultural fit, because most of it, like, we have very small companies, we have much, much bigger companies. So we do segmentation by, like, marketing agency that does this, that's this size. We do that.
Yeah.
But that's obviously an infinite amount of companies. Within that, it then is intangibles. And there's not really a way to...
Do you do any psychometric testing? Like get them to complete a survey and then put your people on what would you call it? I guess like a range of where they sit across psychometrically to see if there might be some intercultural challenges.
Yeah, we don't do that. It's not a terrible idea. I think definitely down the road with the company, possibly. So, but yeah, just trying to work that out and just trying to get a really good sales motion, because we are still, 2 or 3 years in, we are still getting most of our business through referral, repeat business, contacts. And I think if you fix that, you can just basically do whatever you want.
Well, don't you think? I've always thought it's like we grow at 80. Since we've grown, it's always been 85% referral, which has always said to me there's a really, really high ceiling for us to be able to go and get more work. The challenge is, how do you unlock it? And you've got your LinkedIn sales motion. I said I've been reaching out to these CEOs to see if I can learn more about their industry. It's how do you unlock it? Because every single industry at different times with different ICPs always changes. I don't think people say there's a playbook for everything. I'm not really sure there is a playbook. There's a playbook for process maybe, but I think everything is so nuanced to how you actually unlock that cold outreach or network effects of it isn't straightforward.
No, because if it was straightforward, business would be easy, because that's the hardest bit, isn't it? Getting this shit in the door. It's of course hard to deliver, but if you've got pipeline, you can up delivery time and time again. Just keep getting new pipeline in to make it better. Without pipeline, you're just dead. Win of the week, Richard. I've got one. Have you got one? Do you want me to say mine?
And I'll go. I'll rattle through my brain.
Yeah, so I know you won't really be listening, but that's fine. So my win of the
standard.
Yeah, doesn't listen. My win of the week is I've had 3 calls or engagements this week with clients where things aren't going as they want with the person that we've placed in their business, but they are engaging with us to fix it, which is just where we want the business to be, that it's more kind of partnership based, that we're working with these clients to solve their problems, rather than, we're just like most of these kind of companies will just vomit some people in, hope for the best. My view has always been like, we want the lifetime value to be really high. We want this to work long term for the company. And we're having way more conversations now with companies that are saying, can we fix this? Or they're not quite doing this. And actually, if we have that engagement, we can often fix it. And that feels like directionally quite good for us. Have you thought of your one?
Yeah. No, I've got one. Yeah, I think win of the week isn't necessarily. I suppose it is. It's very positive. We're coming up with a new approach to the early stage of product development, because it's getting absolutely rattled by AI, right? And there's a perception in the market that everything can be done with AI now. And obviously, it's a company that employs and has a big team of engineers. We need to be very mindful of it, and we've lent into it a lot. And I came up with a model about 3 weeks ago, and I've run that past 4 people this week, and every single one of them was like, time's now. This is great. You need to roll this model out. So I think that It's essentially, we did it last year. We called it 0 to 1 because I was devoid of ideas. Peter Thiel's kind of like from idea to a product. We used no code tools to go and build that out, but it was really rigid, which means that we just didn't have the flexibility to build one product and then the next product easily. Whereas what we're going to do now is we're going to put our engineers over the top of the best AI tools out there, which we've been training them on in the past 6 months. And then these ideas are going to come in from corporate, so people who are still in job or individual founders. We're going to do it in cohorts of 6 to begin with. 4 of the businesses that come through, or 4 of the founders that come through, will pay us at cost. We'll take a little safe note, so that'll be super cost effective for them. And then 2 of them will completely pay for ourselves. And the idea is that we can potentially work with 24, 48 companies a year. And then the ones that graduate through that, we've got capital that will come in the back to help them grow. So I think it's a really good way for founders who could vibe code, want to do it, but they want to actually do it with a product that could be more sustainable because it's designed and built by people who know engineering and they're just using the tools for speed. And it's been really, really well received. So I think it's a new paradigm for 0 to 1.
The unlock for all of this is actually just going to be this capital, isn't it?
Yeah, and I had a meeting this week with an investor about it who contacted me. I had 2 meetings about it. One is someone I've known for quite some time, and then another one who contacted me, having seen my LinkedIn post, which did work, saying I'd be really interested in potentially looking at funding companies that come out the back of this program. So you think about it like an accelerator. Founders go into an accelerator, they do 3-month curriculum, and then they do a pitch day, and then the fund basically looks at the best ones. So it's like deal flow for a fund. And I wrote a post the other week about our accelerator is the best honeypot for funds nowadays, because that's what all LPs want and funds want is attractive, good deal flow. Whereas this is essentially a replacement for that or in parallel to that. So instead of just doing a curriculum, you build a product, ship it out, test and iterate, and then do a pitch day.
So it's not that different to like a Y Combinator.
It's totally different in the fact that it builds product. Y Combinator is an education program. They help you do your business model.
But ultimately, they help you. Like you do more, but it's the same shit. They find good shit.
They will work. Yeah, they will work with.
They help those people, and then they get them into investors.
Yeah, it's similar. Yes, it's a parallel to an accelerator. Yeah. Yeah.
But
the interesting thing about Y Combinator is that 25% of their startups that went through last year all used AI to build their POCs. So what we're doing is going to accelerate the build of that POC.
Yeah. Because what they're not doing, they're not layering like engineering support on. There's just like mentoring, advisory, and that kind of shit.
Yeah, and then an amazing alumni network and a great fund. So yes, I think it's an alternative to an accelerator.
Yeah. How are you going to find these good startups, like all these ideas or these people?
Well, we have to do 2 to 3 months of work to set the scene for it. That's why we're going to do cohort based, and we're going to start Q3. So it'll be, if I can put together a group of angels that are willing to back it, obviously having funding at the back of it is very attractive. I think we're going to do it sector specific. I think the financial model, the commercial model is super attractive. Like in an Antler, take 11% and value your company very, very low. We're talking about taking 3%.
But 5%. They've got the difference between this and say a Y Combinator is Y Combinator gives them money to go.
Yeah, but then they take it back in fees.
Do they?
Antler, the typical Antler investment is 100,000 for 11% of your company, and then they take £37,000 back in fees.
Yeah,
for the cohort.
Are you making them pay? They've got to pay.
We're going to have 2 channels. So yeah, so there's going to be one paid route. If it's a very, very quick, there's two parts of the product. So if it's a quick product, it will be in the region of 4,000 to 5,000, something like that. If it's a larger project, it'll be in the region of 8 to 10. And that will get them 4 to 6 weeks worth of work, which if you do the math on is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's less than the fees of what we would charge, these accelerators charge for their program. And we're not, and I would be looking for, on the paid side, $5,000 safe note as well. in addition
what
to
does
offset.
that mean?
What, safe note?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so basically you're getting $5,000 in equity at a later stage, with a valuation cap. So if you said your business is worth 2 million, and I say, okay, well, I'll take $5,000 at the 2 million. As soon as it triggers that 2 million, we get $5,000 in equity, because it's a small percentage. And if we do the other route, which is the paid for by Mahara route, we'd want 3 to 5%, but we're paying for everything.
Don't you want to get a bigger chunk of these things up front?
No, I think you get a bigger chunk of them once they're proven. What's the point in taking? I just don't think we'll attract people at 20% of their startup idea.
But
Maybe we will. Maybe we will. I was going at 3 to 5%. Maybe I'm being too generous.
But what happens though? You build it. Are you then saying we're going to have follow-on money that will take material amounts? So that's when the fund.
Yes,
invests.
and also Mahara's venture studio sits at the back end of it. So when you need to build a product that isn't just that AI MVP POC, we're there to go and build the full thing. At which point we get more equity.
Yeah. Okay. And doing it a little bit AI stuff.
It's going to. This absolutely has to be engineers and architects using AI tools to rapidly build in an appropriate, structured way that will give these products more of a lifeline. Because most of the stuff we see, and we're seeing them now coming in from founders that are doing it, and it's amazing what they've been able to do. But the majority of it is a rat's nest underneath, because they're not product people by training, and therefore what they're doing is they're coding it as best they can, they're prompting as best they can, but it's not in a structured way, and therefore the AI is just building and building and building, and it's not as clear as it could be. And there needs to be like a product thinking section up front before you go into the AI, and that's where that's the place that we play, because we've done it so many times. And I honestly think it's an amazing it could be an amazing activator for founders.
I actually think it's I think it's smart, really smart, because ultimately, right, we're looking at AI, and this has changed everything in business, but not many people will win from it, because they will try and do the wrong. That the signal is AI. What is the action that you take? What I have done, for example, is I'm like, the business I'm building is already working. I'm just going to use AI to just make it way, way better, which is, I think, fairly sensible. I think a really shit idea is just building an AI tool. Some people will do that, but a lot will fail. What you're saying is, cool, there's all this interest around AI. What we're going to do is we're just going to build a fucking machine that turns good ideas and competent people into like actual businesses. And then we're going to get investors to invest their money in that shit. And also the thing, which is a good idea.
Yeah, and there's going to be three parts to it. Essentially, there is a pre-validation, which you have to do. Is it even worth building this thing? Why are people even going to give a shit? So what's those indicators? Then you have the build phase, and then you have the activation stage. The activation stage is where the capital comes in, typically. And activation's marketing. I think you're in an interesting place, though. I was having a chat with a guy yesterday. He works out of Portland in Oregon and does the pre-bit. It's really, really lovely chap. Very, very smart. His name's Sachin. We were talking about, well, I was talking about, like, there is going to be a wash of products coming to market because the barrier to entry is so much lower, and therefore you don't need as much money. Therefore, the whole like return on investment is completely shifted. If you only need 5 to 10 grand to launch a product now that you had needed 80 to 90 grand before, that product doesn't need to return what it used to need to return. So you know, speaking to a company that's got a VPN in market, they built the VPN very, very quickly, and it's doing 10, 15 grand a month MRR. That's not venture scale, but it doesn't matter because it's still throwing off cash.
Yeah. Why is that interesting for me?
Why is that interesting? Because there are going to be 10,000 products where there were one, and every single one of those products is going to need marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. Do you know what? When I hear you talk about this, my opinion, for what it's worth, if we look back when you're in 5 or 10 years, I think you have made your money from ownership in 5 or 6 of these that have just really blown up.
Yeah.
And so my gut feeling is, for what it's worth, is that the deals that you do with these companies up front, I think you'll raise the money. I'll say it now. I think in 6 months look back, or 12, I do think you will raise money, because I think maybe it won't be 20 million, but it doesn't need to be. But I think you'll raise it.
Doesn't need to be in this model. And that's what's interesting about it. This has come through in the last 3 weeks. The 17 million that I'd planned on the US side of what I think I need to do to launch 30 businesses at the later stage can be the graduation of this. So this could go we could raise $1 million, and this ticks. I
look at this and I go, just fucking raise $500,000 or $1 million, put 24 companies through, and then just back yourself to go, we can turn these into something, which I think you can. 2 or 3 winners out of that. The whole thing over here, you've got the agency, effectively, I know you don't like calling it that, but the product agency side of the business that's keeping the lights on, that's making some profit, whatever. And then you're punting here. This is the best idea I think I've heard you come up with, because you're right. You just got, like, I do it. I really want to build some AI stuff. I'm looking at it going, fucking hell, I can't. But like, could I with Mahara? I'd go through your thing. But you do. I think you want to take a bigger chunk, and I think you want to ideally be able to at least give them the money that then they invest in you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were talking about stipend. That's one thing we were talking about. Like, we'll give you a base salary for 4 months, or a base salary for 6 months. Is that a model that we could do? Just to allow them to focus 100%, because it's activation is just as important as anything.
I agree. And that will be super, super exciting to people. You've got stipend, and then you've got 20,000 for build, which essentially just comes straight back to Mahara. You want to put 24 through. What's that? £1 million? How much? $1 million divided by 24? 40 grand ish. I think you get £1 million. I look at that and I go, would you be able to cobble £1 million together? Surely. Would one of those 24 not be a joke? Surely. We only got 3 minutes left. We do. We've not gone to what we want to talk about, but I've enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, well, we can talk about it more, because it's a bit of a journey, because I'm assembling some really interesting people around it. I mean, you can definitely sit on the activation side. That's where we are weak on that. It's like, you build these products. How do you help these founders that aren't marketeers get this stuff moving? Mm-hmm. How do you growth hack the hell out of that?
Yeah, I just like this. I like that you'll just have a ton of interest on all sides, on the founder side, on the investment side. And also I agree that actually your infrastructure is going to help people make this. Because I've got 2 or 3 ideas for AI products, but the word rat's nest that you have used is the right one. If I tried to build this fucker, it would be the rats would love it.
But you could, the rats would love it. And there are a lot of that. And I still think it's going to be better. I still think it's better than where we were, and it's still fantastic. But these tools that we're looking at, that people want us to refactor to go and build on top of, it's impossible. You've got to start again. And that's fine, but you might be able to make a product last a year as opposed to 4 months.
Yes.
And that's a big difference.
Yes.
If you do it properly from the get-go, kick that down a year, that gives you a fighting chance of getting your commercials up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to worry about it.
I agree with that, because the better your IP is about understanding this is the tooling, this is how the tooling works. You've got all of that knowledge inside Mahara. Like, because I would love to, I've got these AI ideas. I will come to you and say, Rich, I think this, and this. What is the best way to do it? How long would it take? What did it cost? If you can answer me those questions, then, which I think you can. We've got 1 minute though, because my fault, we started late today. So we need to do an outro. I really enjoyed that, talking to you about that. I know that wasn't the plan. We were going to talk about LinkedIn lead generation. But you've excited me with that. It's rare that you excite me, but you've excited me with that. So I don't think sometimes I hear something and I say that's definitely going to work.
This is the thing is that you're the 5th person this week that I've kind of shaped it to. And I don't think I did a particularly good job of shaping that, but because we're short on time. But I think there is something in it. I really do. And I think this could be, weirdly, Ben said the other night, he goes, this could be the future of our business.
I think the idea is correct. The direction of travel is correct. For my opinion, for what it's worth, is the deals that you do with the companies is going to be crucial, and getting some money to fund it is going to be crucial. But like you say, to start with, you could probably get this going with 100 grand or 200 grand for the first cohort, maybe less. And I would focus my energy, if it were me, on that rather than trying to get 20 million to get that first cohort funded properly, get the better. Because if you get the more money, you get the better people doing it. You get better products out the back of it. You learn more. Blah 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 blah. That's my opinion, but semantics really. The direction of travel is great.
Okay, awesome. Well, look, it's been a good chat. Hope everybody who did listen to this, the few at the beginning of this journey, found it useful. Doug and I are going to be doing one of these a week, and we're going to be tracking through and seeing how we're getting on. Set out our stalls for what we want to do in business, and hopefully you can come along for some roaring success and some horrible, gut-wrenching, shitty situations where Doug cries
and swears. But we're going to try and bleep those out. All right, Rich.
Yeah. Okay, dude. Enjoyable.
See you next week.
You take care. Cheers.